Justin Verlander's been one of the game's most dominant pitchers for more than a decade. The former Cy Young Award winner added World Series champion to his resume as an Astro last year. The last time the Giants saw Verlander, Game 1 of the 2012 World Series. The night Pablo Sandoval hit 2 homers off Verlander and 3 for the game, setting the tone for a Giants sweep of the Tigers in the World Series. Now, Verlander and the Giants next. Welcome to NBC Sports Bay Area, powered by Xfinity, as we come to you from Minute Maid Park in Houston, the finale of this abbreviated 2-game series, the Giants and the Astros. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with Jeremy Affelt. Welcome to Giants baseball. And they got clobbered last night. Now they need a win to get a split in the series, and everything will look pretty good. However, they are facing the guy who's got the best earned run average in baseball, 1.05. We're talking about Justin Verlander, whom the Giants faced in the 2012 World Series. But he seems to be better now than he's ever been. How can that be?
I mean, he's the same guy. I think his stuff is, he's always been a hard thrower. I think he's just got 5 years more of experience. And I think the way he's come out in this year especially and utilize his off-speed pitches. He was kind of a power guy before. He'd power it by you. He'd throw some off-speed in there, but he was going to try to go high velocity in all 6 quadrants of the zone. Now you're seeing him using high velocity, but you're also seeing him utilize a breaking ball. His curveball slows everybody down. He's starting to change up speeds. He's pitching really, really smart. So I think 2012 he was a super talent. 2018 he's a super talent with 14 years under his belt, and he seems like he's getting better. And that's a scary thing for other teams, but it's a positive thing for the Houston Astros.
A lot of scary things about this Astros team in general. They are very, very good. And why not? They're the World Series champion. We're going to come back with the lineups in the first pitch. We invite you to stay tuned as we'll take you to the NBC Sports Bay Area studios for an update right after this.
Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. And by Jack in the Box. Try the new Cholula Buttery Jack, part of the Buttery Jack family. Only at Jack in the Box.
In downtown Houston, and it is partly cloudy and humid outside, and we are indoors here at the Minute Maid Ballpark. Game time weather presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Get to the beach. The admission-free boardwalk is open daily starting Friday, May 25th. That's this Friday. 75 degrees outside, winds at 7 miles an hour, 76% humidity, mostly cloudy with spotty showers and very, very sticky. The Astros are on the field. Let's take a look at the Giants batting order now, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Gorkis Hernandez, center field. Andrew McCutcheon in right. Buster Posey, the DH in the American League Ballpark. Brandon Belt, left field. Evan Longoria at third base. Brandon Crawford at shortstop. He continues to be so hot, hitting .453 in the month of May. 2 more hits last night, including a home run. Sandoval at first. And last time we saw Sandoval in a Giants uniform facing Verlander, he hit 2 home runs against him in Game 1 of the World Series in 2012. Nick Hundley, the catcher. Kelby Tomlinson at second.
Justin Verlander on the mound this afternoon, leading ERA leader, and you'll see why right there. 68 innings pitch, just 35 hits, 14 walks, and 84 Ks. And that's how he does it. Fastball, high velocity, similar to what you saw yesterday from Cole. High velocity with a slider, curveball, change, and cutter. Rarely throws those. I do think you'll see him throw curveballs more often, but we'll see as the game goes on.
And I noticed those batting averages against those various pitches. No matter what he throws, nobody hits it.
Yeah, his command is pretty good. He's not just a high velocity pitcher. He hits quadrants pretty good. He can locate, and he can throw strikes with all his pitches. His secondary and third pitches he can throw strikes with. So he mixes it up pretty good.
He seems to be getting better with age, which is rather phenomenal. Fastball down and away. So the count is a ball and a strike to Gorkis, who is hitting .278 with 4 home runs. And that fastball is fouled away. Verlander broke into the big leagues all the way back in 2005 with the Tigers. He helped get them to the World Series his first full year in the big leagues, 2006. And then last year he was traded. He was a stretch run acquisition by the Astros and helped them. I don't think they could have won the World Series without him, or maybe even gotten to the World Series without him. That's how good he was as an Astro. And that is too high, 2-2. He went 5-0 with a 1.06 earned run average for the Astros. And then in the postseason, in the American League Championship Series, he was the MVP in the ALCS against the Yankees. 2-0 with a .56 ERA. And that's high and tight, 3-2. And then in the World Series, he pitched 12 innings against the Dodgers, gave up 5 hits, and did not get a win. That, of course, was a wild World Series. There were more home runs hit in that World Series than in any other World Series in history. And the bullpen did not hold wins for him. There's a foul out of play. 3-2.
Defense behind Verlander this afternoon from left to right. Gonzalez, Kemp, Springer. Third to first, Bregman, Correa, Altuve, Gurriel. Catching, new catcher tonight, Brian McCann. Saw him a lot with the Braves. Giants have history with him.
McCann's been around almost as long as Verlander. And Gorky's hanging tough here against the veteran right-hander. 3-2 the count. Verlander 6 feet 5 inches tall. He was a #1 draft choice, the 2nd overall pick in the draft way back when by the Tigers out of Old Dominion University. Got to be one of the greatest major league players ever to come out of Old Dominion. 3-2 the count. Andrew McCutchen is on deck. And a fastball back to the screen. Gorkys is hanging in there tough. He's made him throw 8 pitches already. And that was the 5th foul ball that he's hit here against Verlander. Buster Posey in the hole, due up 3rd in the inning. Verlander started and then stopped, and now Gorky's asked for time. Outfield pushed way over toward the right field line. And there's a high fly ball in the foul ground. Springer, and he has room. Another foul ball, but this one is caught, and he is gone.
Our Nissan keys to the game today. Samardzija is getting into the 6th or 7th. It's very, very important to start a road trip. You know, yesterday we didn't get into the 5th or 6th from the starter, but they need to see their starters go deeper into the game to save their bullpen throughout the year. This is an important start, I think, for Samardzija to do that. And then the offense needs to score early on Verlander. He does smell blood in the water, and you give him some breathing room, it's very tough to beat him. So we need to score early.
And the curveball in there for a called strike to Andrew McCutchen. 243 average, 3 home runs, 348 on base average. He's seen Verlander over the years.
Yeah, he trusts his fastball. You saw right there in the first at bat, he kept coming at Gorky's with fastballs. He's going to come after you. His ball jumps on you. It kind of almost rises in your eyes a little bit, but he's always been that guy that wants to speed your bat up. He's going to come after you early. He's going to challenge you with fastballs, and he's going to start mixing up the breaking balls a lot of times later in the game. But he's one of those kind of guys that almost thinks about how many fastballs can I throw first time through the lineup before I go to a breaking ball. And he has the ability to mix and match, go up and down, in and out with his fastball, so he can do that.
1-2 the count. On the outside corner. Perfect pitch if you're Verlander. 2 down.
Pitchcast is brought to you by SoFi, a modern finance company. And there's the pitch right there. 95 on the outside corner. That's a tough pitch. Down the way is tough to hit anyway, and you have 95 coming at you.
So here's Buster Posey. Buster has only faced Verlander in that World Series 2012. And it's ball one, down and away. The umpiring alignment, we got Rob Drake calling the balls and strikes with the crew chief Mike Winters at first, Mike Malinsky second, and Ramon De Jesus at third. Joining the crew today, Tim Timmons. I guess Tim Timmons went out on vacation. He was the plate umpire last night.
I think he needed one. You know, I think he just
Bregman
needed a break.
throws out Buster. That is the inning. Strong first inning for Verlander. Now Samardzija will head to the mound. By Southwest Airlines, George Springer in right field. He's had 9 leadoff homers, or did last season, and 3 this year. He's had 21 in his career, so you got to watch out for him from the first pitch onward. Bregman at third, Altuve at second. Correa hitting cleanup at short. Gonzalez in the lineup in left field. Gurriel at first. McCann, the catcher, hitting seventh. Gattis, the DH. Tony Kemp in center field, batting ninth.
Jeff Samardzija pitching. 1 and 2 with the 6.3. You see his numbers there. Left-handers tend to give him some problems. Nothing really gets me as much as the walks. He usually isn't a guy that walks a lot of guys. He's walked too many this year. I'm sure he's looking to kind of fine-tune that, but that's how he's getting it done with his fastball and slider and occasional curveball. Hopefully he'll throw his curveball a little bit more. He has a good one, and I think he should use it more often.
George Springer had 1 hit and knocked in a run last night. In fact, he knocked in the second run of the game. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to him. Springer's hit 9 home runs so far this year. Hit 34 last year. It's hit well. McCutchen all the way back at the wall. 1 away.
Defense behind Samardzija this afternoon. Brandon Belt left field. Hernandez and McCutchen center and right. From third to first is Longoria, Crawford, Tomlinson, and hopefully the Verlander kryptonite Pablo Sandoval playing first. Nick Hundley is catching.
So here is Bregman. Bregman had 2 doubles and a walk last night with 2 RBIs. Shows bunt, takes high and tight. 1 ball, no strikes. Two-0. Samardzija, we've seen him hit 96 miles an hour with his fastball, and his last couple of starts he was kind of steadily anywhere from 93 to 96, but he often seems to have to build up to it early in the game.
Yeah, a lot of guys like to increase velocity as they go. You'll actually see a guy like Verlander do the same thing. He'll throw harder at the end of the game than he does at the beginning of the game. But even Samardzija, like, I think we have to remember, he put up some innings last year. He was a pretty good little workhorse, and he's been a good workhorse for the Cubs and Giants his entire career. And sometimes it just takes a toll on you, and you just don't get going as easy throughout some years than others. And he's kind of had a slow start with his arm, and the body was feeling it a little bit, and he's trying to get in rhythm even now. He's still looking for it. But he's a big, strong guy. I think that he will come around and he'll find it. And when he does, it'll be a big, big bump for the Giants. Hopefully he finds it today.
And he misses way off the outside. He's talking about that control. That was something that almost never happened last year, especially right away in the game. A walk. He had many games where he didn't walk anybody.
Yeah, that was almost a thing for him last year. A lot of times he would throw so many strikes. It seemed like the hitters were they knew there was a strike coming, so he would almost give up hits when he needed to expand the zone a little bit more.
He pitched 208 innings last year and issued 32 walks. Now he has walked 19 in 30 and a third innings this year. He's averaging 6 walks per 9 innings just about. A little bit above that, actually. Sandoval at first. Bregman, the runner over there, as Altuve comes up. Bregman with 4 steals. The Astros just don't do a whole lot of running, but he got one last night. Samardzija's 6-3 lifetime against the Astros. And the changeup is low. Maybe that was the splitter. 1 ball, no strikes. Samardzija had the pectoral strain on the right side, which kind of attaches up to the shoulder. It put him on the disabled list when the season began. (2-0), and this strike zone has just not been there for him. Not right now, and for a very large part of this season.
Yeah, and it's that pec is all part of the shoulder and the throwing motion and the arm speed. And when you don't have that, when your body isn't firing in all cylinders, especially up near the shoulder area, it can cause problems with your command.
There goes Bregman. Hundley's throw on a bounce. A steal for Bregman. Pitch was called a strike. 2-1.
There's that throw down. Hundley never really had a chance. I think, Samardzija was focused on throwing strikes right now, and he kind of gathered a little bit and probably was a little bit slower to home plate. And sometimes you have to do that. They just happen to steal. That's actually a good hitter's count for hit and runs. There's a lot of things that can happen there, but he had that bag pretty easy.
3-1 to the very slighted build. Altuve listed at 5 feet 6 inches tall. Some think maybe not quite that tall, but he is one of the best players in the game. Altuve hitting .318 so far this season. American League MVP last year.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to care too much about height or what anybody thinks about if he should be tall or short in the game. Your MVP of the American League is 5'6". He's put a lot of work into it. He hits homers. He hits homers like he's 6'5".
24 homers last year and 24 the year before that. 24 homers last year and a .346 batting average and more than 30 steals. And a Gold Glover at second base. Of course, in Houston, in the very early days in the history of this franchise as an expansion team, they had a guy who was known as Little Joe, was the second baseman. Started his career here, who eventually made it to the Hall of Fame, Joe Morgan. And Joe was listed about 5'6", 5'7". And he hit for power and won Gold Gloves and MVPs. Although not until after he left the Astros. In those days, they played in the cavernous Astrodome back in the 60s. Carlos Correa, and there's a strike, and it's 1-1. A rally given to the Astros here by the generosity of Samardzija. 2 straight walks. And Correa, big and strong. He's sort of the anti-Altuve. He's 6 feet 4 inches tall. Look out. 2-1.
You can see he's already starting to aim the ball a little bit. He's not feeling that great. His velocity is 89 to 91. He's just trying to gain command of the strike zone. He's missing way up and in arm side. When that happens, that's usually a pitcher that's just trying to feel through it, and then he pulls it down in a way. He'll throw it up and in. He'll yank breaking balls until he can get that rhythm and that feel of just competing out there. That's what you're going to see from him.
Way off the outside. 3-1. He has thrown 17 pitches, 5 of them for strikes. Less than a third. Marwin Gonzalez on deck. And that is a called strike. I'm not sure what Correa was looking for there with a 3-1 count, but he got a fastball pretty much right down the middle.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted him to throw a strike. He hadn't been throwing many.
Yeah, exactly. And he's thinking, I'll take a walk if you're not. He hadn't been close to the strike zone this whole at bat, really. So I think he's not looking to do much here. He's looking to swing here.
Now the throw. Well, he was just bluffing, and then he had him picked off, and then belatedly made the throw, but it was too late by then.
See here, Inside move. 3-2. Guys are kind of trying to get a cheat, maybe trying to run a little bit because they're going to think base hit. He's going to try to score. He's trying to get a head start. It's like a lot of times a good time to do an inside move, especially if you think they're going to be running.
And they are running. Strike 3 called, and that is a double play. Wow.
Pitcher's best friend, doesn't matter how you get them, John. Double plays are good.
Brandon Belt coming up when we return.
Home appliance during their Memorial Day sale and get up to 50% off appliances and up to 60% off mattresses.
From Minute Maid Park in Houston, indoors, Giants nothing, Astros nothing. As Justin Verlander goes back to work, Brandon Belt leads off for the Giants. They've got the overshift on for Brandon. And a fastball in there for a called strike. Belt versus Verlander, the American League earned run average leader, against Brandon Belt, who was the National League Player of the Week for last week. They're giving him third base. It's wide open. And a 1-strike pitch is too high. Just barely. 1 ball, 1 strike. Belt is hitting .313. 11 home runs, 29 batted in. He had a double and a walk last night. And a fastball right in there at 94, and he couldn't get it.
I'm a fan of that bunt right now. I know Belt, he's hitting very, very well. You want him to hit for power, and he can put a run on the board, but you're wanting to kind of generate something real early against a guy like Verlander. They're going to give you a knock to lead off the game. You might as well just
lead
put
off
it down.
the inning.
Or yeah, leading off the inning. You might as well just do it. Get on base and have Longoria go attack him. You know,
Longoria's had more experience against Verlander than any other Giant by far, being a former American leaguer, which is not to say he's had a whole lot of success against him. Not hardly anybody has, but he's had 34 at bats, so he knows a lot about him. A homer, a double, and a triple. There you see his numbers. That's all for Brandon Belt. The off-speed pitch that got him looking.
you see this strike him out, throw him out here. Bregman didn't have that big of a lead. And I think the pickoff attempt before probably shortened his lead at second a little bit. So then when he breaks to third on a strikeout, I mean, Hundley had him out by a mile there. I mean, that was a well-placed throw, but it was a good all-around double play to get Smarsda out of a jam right there when he probably wasn't feeling his best.
And that pickoff, or inside move as you call it, spin move as Bochy calls it, likely came from Bochy. And it may have, though they didn't pick him off, it may have ultimately led to him being thrown out at third.
I think managers look at that. Bregman didn't have a very big lead even in the pickoff, and you're thinking if you're going to try to run from right there, you're going to try to go early. So maybe let's try an inside move just to see if we can get him running and see if we can pick him off, and end up working out the very next pitch.
1 strike to Longoria. 8 home runs for the year, 23 batted in. Very high with a fastball at 94. But that inning was not looking very promising for Samardzija. He had walked 2 in a row. He had gone to a 3-1 count on Correa, and then struck him out, and then the out at third for the double play, just like that. In what was really just a complete struggle for Samardzija all through the inning.
Saw that pitch right there, curveball. And that's what I was talking about. I think you're going to see him utilize that curveball a little bit more than what the statistics say he throws it at against the Giants. I watched him his last start against Anaheim where he threw that complete game, and he utilized that curveball to slow some of those hitters down more than he has in the past. I think you'll see that tonight.
Well, it looked like he just threw another one. Longoria was able to fight it off just barely. One out, nobody on in the second inning. Brandon Crawford is on deck. And that one is too low, which that may be just what he was wanting to do with it with a 2-strike count.
Yeah, start it in the zone, like bottom of the zone, and just see if you can get him to chase. He threw it middle of the plate.
Now you had a great curveball, and I saw you throw it many, many times, and you're a big advocate of, if you have a good curveball, let's throw it. Come on. Well, that one got him looking. Another strikeout on a called third strike. 2 down. Now, how far would you go for a Togo? Brought to you by Togo's Pretzel Rami. Last night, Brandon Crawford, a 2-run homer against Garrett Cole. Off the bat, 97.5 miles an hour. 353 feet into the porch out there at left field. The Crawford boxes, aptly named last night, perhaps the most appropriate guy to hit a home run into the Crawford boxes. Did so last night.
I mean, the dad's expression, John, it's phenomenal. I mean, I'm a big fan of GIFs. I like those little videos. I think it's fun. I mean, that has to be a GIF at some point in time of the dad looking at his daughter like, ooh, you know, how do
sitting with his daughter, whose husband just gave up a home run to
his son.
Yeah. I have a feeling that if we could have put a mic in his mind, we would have been hearing, yeah. 1-1 the count. 2 down, nobody on. That ball is hit well to right field, but it's going to stay in the yard. Springer. And that ends the inning. 3 up, 3 down. Let's take another look at Brandon's dad last night.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. That is. Oh, it's so good.
Off here, the Yulieski Gurriel and Brian McCann to follow. Gonzalez, a switch hitter, and the guy can play almost any position. He's got power, hitting only .225 so far this year with 4 home runs and some argue to him. Got the call on that one on the outside. Now, last night we showed Crawford's home run against his brother-in-law, Garrett Cole. Cole told the story that when he made his major league debut, it was against the Giants as a Pirate, and in that game, Brandon Crawford got a broken bat bloop hit against him. And then Brandon sent a gift over to Garrett Cole after the game. Cole won the game. And Brandon sent him that broken bat and autographed it as a gift to Garrett Cole. So Cole always remembered that, and he sent Brandon Crawford a gift after the game last night. That's out into right center, off the end of the bat, and caught by McCutcheon. Here's Cole talking about the gift that he sent over to Crawford last night.
I signed the pair of cleats that I pitched tonight, and I wrote, you know, Kuiper's call out of here on the one, and then Johnny Miller's adios pelota on the other one, and I sent it over. So, you know, I try to have a little fun with it.
Yeah, and it might have been a little more fun for him than for Brandon since he got the win, but we did show the expression on Brandon's dad's face, and it was kind of a win-win for him. Brandon, his son, hit a home run, and his daughter's husband, his son-in-law, got the win.
Yeah.
So everybody ended up with something out of the deal. Anyway, it's fun, and I thought Dave Fleming had a great comment on our telecast last night. He said, hey, that'll be fodder for discussion around the Thanksgiving dinner table during the holidays, that's for sure.
I mean, for years, every time, hey, you remember that one time when I hit a homer? 353 feet?
The Crawford boxes.
Yeah.
I still, when they open this ballpark, now they list 315 down the left field line. Most pitchers would tell you, I don't think so. I think it's a lot less than that. And the fence does not angle out from there. It doesn't curve out. It just goes straight across. It's shallow all the way across. And it goes out maybe, what, 95 feet out towards center field from the foul pole. And the wall's only 19 feet high. And I asked him, I said, what is that? What did you do that for? Why did you make it so shallow? Well, we wanted to do a Fenway Park kind of a thing. And I said, well, do the people who built this ball, did they realize that the wall at Fenway Park is 37 feet high?
Yeah. Yeah, you can hit a lot of doubles off that stuff in Fenway because the ball kind of drops and hits off, and you'll get away with that. But here, 19 feet up, that's not that high for that short of a wall. You can get some balls over that.
Brandon Crawford, the over shift on, and Pablo Sandoval pulls it out. 2 down.
Join us for a pregame brunch at AT&T Park on Sunday, June 3rd, hosted by C's Candies. The opportunity to be on the outfield warning track pregame, a box of C's Candy lollipops, and a lower box seat to see the Giants-Phillies game. Visit sfgiants.com/brunch for tickets to receive this package.
And some Giants fans in attendance here today as Brian McCann comes up. 2 down, nobody on. A difficult first inning for Samardzija as he faces McCann. But he got through it, and he gets a couple of quick outs to start this inning. And the Giants have the overshift on for McCann, a veteran, 34 years old. Just off the inside. Borderline pitch there. McCann 3 for 15 in his career against Samardzija. And he's got a lot of power. Former Brave and a former Yankee. The Astros actually acquired him from the Yankees. And now it's 3-0. You got Evan Gattis on deck.
How about that scenario to come back to bite you? You trade your catcher to the Astros, who you end up playing in the ALCS, and then he calls a game to beat you guys to go to the World Series.
Yeah.
That can be a frustrating thing for a front office, I think.
It's pretty sweet for McCann one way or the other to win the pennant, but to do it against your old team, the Yankees, who traded you away. Chance of the overshift. Crawford's all the way over at short, nobody at third. McCann hits a soaring pop fly, and McCutchen takes it. Strong inning there. Pablo Sandoval, the hero of Game 1 of the 2012 World Series against Verlander, coming up. He was 29 years old when he pitched Game 1 of the 2012 World Series against the Giants at AT&T Park. Pablo Sandoval, he was even younger than that when he made history, World Series history, in that Game 1 with a 3-home run game, 2 of them against Verlander. And there's a ball too high. I asked Bruce Bochy about the expression on Verlander's face when Pablo took him deep a second time. He went over the center field wall with the first one and then over the left field wall. Verlander pitched him differently the second time. And Verlander, they had a shot of him on the telecast where he mouthed the word "wow," as if he was astonished that Pablo was able to do that. And Bochy said, well, he did that because nobody did that to Justin Verlander. So here's Pablo. He's the Giants' first baseman in this game. And he blew that one right by him on a 2-0 count. Pablo, by the way, those 2 home runs he had against Verlander in the World Series, those are the only 2 hits he's had against him. He may have faced him when he was in the American League with the Red Sox. And Verlander's still with the Tigers. He's 2 for 7 lifetime against him. Well, they're defended in that direction with the shortstop behind second, and there's one away. Let's go back. The Cricket Smile brought to you by Cricket Wireless. It was #1 in the first game of the World Series. What a beginning. Then the next time he came up to the opposite field, and Verlander put that pitch right where the catcher gave him the target. And then against Albuquerque in the 5th inning, another home run over the center field wall, at which point he became the 4th player in Major League history to have 3 home runs in a World Series game. How about these names? The Babe, Reggie Jackson, and then Albert Pujols in 2011. And then Pablo Sandoval a year later.
He wasn't missing. He didn't really miss that whole playoffs. I mean, he was hitting pretty good. He was barreling balls up. That definitely was a big opportunity for us in that game to be able to hit 3 homers and kind of set the precedent for that. I mean, we weren't sweeping him because of it. I think we came out hitting the ball so well it put him in a hole, because you're thinking when he comes in, if he's got Game 1, you're thinking we're going to take Game 1. We got Verlander, and all of a sudden we beat him.
He's the ace.
It puts those guys in a little bit of a hole. And
Barry Zito was the Giants pitcher.
Yep.
In Game 1.
And Z pitched. I mean, the whole playoffs, Z pitched amazing. That was a good little run for him too.
He shut the Tigers down in that game. People forget Bumgarner had been all out of whack most of the month of September in 2012, and then got lit up in the division series by the Cincinnati Reds, and the Giants bypassed him the next go around, and gave him a chance to work in the bullpen and try to get it figured out. As Hundley pops a foul out of play, 1 ball, 2 strikes to count. So Bumgarner had not pitched in 10 or 11 days when he went in Game 2 of that World Series, and he shut the Tigers down. He was Bumgarner again.
Yep, he found it when he needed to find it.
It's easy to look back now and say, well, that's Bumgarner in the World Series. Nobody ever touches Bumgarner in the World Series, and nobody ever has. That's all for Hundley. 2 down. There's 4 strikeouts for Justin Verlander. He's retired the first 8 Giants in this game. Now Tomlinson will come up.
What makes Verlander so deceptive, I think, he has velocity. He's got, an above average slider, but it's the easiness of how he throws a baseball that I think can mess hitters up. When he goes ahead and throws a fastball and a slider, it just looks so easy on both. You can't really adjust speed. You can't say, okay, well, he overthrows on the fastball. He kind of starts doing a little stuff on the slider. He kind of has the same arm slot. He has the same easiness in his delivery, and he can even increase his velocity with ease too. He's pretty deceptive out there.
Correa, and that's all for Tomlinson. And that's 9 in a row retired by Verlander, only thrown 39 pitches in 3 innings. 5 at the old Astrodome. It had just opened, and Jim Ray Hart hit a fly ball to Jim Wynn in a day game, and Jim Wynn couldn't see it, and it went as an inside the park home run. They had window panels up on the roof for the sun to shine through, because they had natural grass just like they do here in this retractable roof ballpark. But in the daytime, when they played a day game, you look up into this and it was a glare. You couldn't see anything. And the next day they painted the entire ceiling, every one of those panels, to cut down the glare. But then the natural grass died as a result of that. And so that was the advent of artificial turf, which they of course called AstroTurf.
AstroTurf.
Astrodome, the first ballpark to employ the artificial turf. Evan Gattis is the hitter. Well, I remember that game, listening to it on the radio. I think the Giants might even have televised that game back to San Francisco with Russ Hodges and Lon Simmons, the Hall of Fame broadcasters. Jim Wynn was just a young guy. The Astros were going with a real young team. Joe Morgan was a young guy. Rusty Staub. Rusty Staub, I think, was 18 or 19 when he came up. And the Astrodome, they called it the 8th wonder of the world. Nobody had ever seen anything quite like it, but that was a little bit of a flaw with those glass panels up at the top. I guess they were maybe plexiglass. Best laid plans. The grass died. AstroTurf. And there's a lot of people sort of rue the advent of artificial turf in baseball, because that gave people a lot of ideas, like, we could build a multi-purpose ballpark.
Yeah.
Play football and baseball and just use artificial turf. Bad news for knees.
Oh, backs, lower backs. Longoria would be happy to tell you about that. I mean, he played most of his career on that turf over there in Tampa.
An indoor ballpark, Tropicana Field. That's a foul. Not there in a hurry. Guy.
The positive defensively is you're going to get true hops. You're not going to get any kind of weird bounces and stuff like that. A lot of times, if the whole field's AstroTurf, Tampa had some dirt infield, but I think also you also get the balls faster on turf. You can hit ground balls to the infield a lot quicker, and gets by outfielders faster.
It's a great ballpark for extra base hits.
Yeah.
And Whitey Herzog, when he took over the Cardinals, he mirrored his approach when he had been in Kansas City with artificial turf. Brought in more speed, better defense. We all remember those Cardinal teams. They would steal 1,000,000 bases and use that artificial turf to their advantage. There's a look at the Astrodome when it was being built here in Houston. The old ballpark, Colt 45 Stadium, where the Astros first played. They were the Houston Colt 45s then. And then you had the panels up on the rooftop to allow the sun to shine through so that the grass could continue to grow. It's just that you couldn't see a fly ball when you played a day game there. The 8th wonder of the world. Also, that was the first ballpark that had the luxury suites.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Judge Roy Hoffines was the owner of the Astros, and he sort of envisioned the ballpark. Caught by Longoria. That ball was ripped by Gaddis, but some bad luck for him, and there is one away.
So you're saying the Astros changed the game with suites, luxury suites, turf. What they didn't probably factor in on the turf side is if you do it outside in places like Kansas City and St. Louis, you actually have players have to play on surfaces of like 150 degrees. Shoes are melting, you know.
That happened, yeah.
Yeah.
That happened a lot. Here is Tony Kemp, one of last night's heroes. 5 RBI game, the biggest game in his big league career. And he takes a called strike. Well, they didn't envision AstroTurf. They had the regular grass, as we said, but it was a necessity ultimately. And that's high and tight. 1 ball and 1 strike. But it did change everything. They also had a big scoreboard that went out, covered half an acre or something out in center field. And when they hit a home run, there was almost a cartoon that played with a big longhorn steer and the flight of the ball and whatnot. So that was the presaging of the big TV screens that we have in every ballpark nowadays. Jumbotrons and whatnot. The Astrodome still exists, by the way. They have functions there like car shows and boat shows and I don't know, conventions. Or,
so they use it as like almost a convention center, huh?
Yeah. And there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of arguing about what to do with it, because a lot of people say, wait a minute, that's an historic edifice. Because a lot of people think it should just be torn down. Well, Kemp gets a walk. That's the 3rd walk allowed by Samardzija. We're in the 3rd, 0-0 here. Dave Fleming will be coming along in the 4th inning. The Giants will be flying to Chicago after the game. And you see the strength in numbers Warriors shirt. Giants are going to be doing a Warriors sort of travel party tribute. Everybody's going to be wearing Warriors gear.
Yeah, they came down to the lobby in sweatpants, sweatshirts. Some guys didn't know it, so they didn't have their they're wearing dress shoes. It looks kind of awkward. I'm thinking they're going to probably bring some of their track shoes here, tennis shoes from the clubhouse, because some of these guys coming down in nice dress shoes with a jumpsuit on there. I got some chuckles out of it this morning watching those guys parade themselves through the lobby of the hotel.
One on, one out. Springer, the leadoff man. And he takes inside. That strike zone has been fleeting for Samardzija in terms of being able to find it early on in this game. Springer, who flied out deep to right. McCutchen went all the way back near the wall to catch it. And Kemp, you got to keep a close eye on Kemp. He's very fast, as we learned last night. This is only his 6th big league game this year. Alex Cintron, the coach over there. And Kemp is listed as the same height as Altuve, 5'6". Although they list him as 1 pound lighter than Altuve.
Yep, it's mandatory. Altuve's got to be 1 pound stronger of muscle mass. You sign for how much money do you sign for? You know, your MVP has to have more muscle mass.
There's Altuve. And we do remember him when he first came up. I don't think anybody was predicting that this was a future MVP. But he did things that caught your eye even then. A bloop. Just foul. Unfortunately so for the Giants. Pretty good pitch by Samardzija, not hit well by Springer, and he almost had an extra base hit on it.
Yeah, Hundley wants it in here, and he definitely got it in. And those good hitters, man, they can kind of just muscle those balls out there a lot of times. And Springer's strong enough to do that. Those are the kind of hitters those are the kind of hits that'll end up frustrating you, because he can hit them a long way, and then when you actually beat him, he's strong enough to just kind of bloop it over the infield for a hit as well. It can frustrate you when you beat a hitter like that and still gets on base.
Runner going, the tag, and he's out. Great tag by Tomlinson.
That was a great throw by Hundley. I mean, he put it on the money, on the base of the bag, and it was up and in on Springer, which sometimes you don't mind necessarily, but he had to throw right off the top of his feet. You see right here, he didn't have time to load or anything, and he short arm and put it perfect right on the bag. Wow. Great job by Hundley right there. Look at this throw. Look at that. Oh, man. He likes it. He likes it. Look at, he's digging himself. He's like, that's right.
Well, they have 3 times tried to run against the Giants, and twice Hundley out of the 3 has thrown them out. Full count here to Springer, but with 2 down and nobody on. He's the 10th batter of the game, the 4th to have had a full count. Right back off of Samardzija's pitching hand. Longoria will hang on to it. The question is, how is the hand of Samardzija? Seems to be fine. An infield hit for Springer.
Definitely not something Dave Greshner wanted to see right there, I don't think, when your starter that just came off the DL slaps down a ball with his bare hand. Samardzija says, I'm fine. And Dave's like, it's not my first rodeo, dude. You always say you guys are fine. Here's the pitch. Ball right back at him. And it's just how Samardzija falls off the mound. He spins off the mound, so when a ball comes back at you that quick, when you're you're not really in a fielding position right there in your best, it's a reaction. All it is like you're just trying to get yourself in front of it to slap it down. And see Samardzija's a little bit frustrated right there that it landed where it landed. He probably was hoping that ball would kind of land right in front of him and pick him and throw him out. But
you think that hit right in the sort of the pad of the hand, because it looked like to me almost off the side, the outer side of the hand, the side of the small finger, and or even maybe on the wrist, but
probably the meaty part of that palm right there. He kind of slapped at it. It might not have been hit as hard as what we see it might have been, but I feel like it kind of went off. But it's a scary thing because they're dealing with a Bumgarner situation right now that was almost similar. The ball was hit a little harder and it was a line drive at Bum, but you know, you're sitting there seeing that Dave's immediate reaction is like, not again. You know, we need to keep these guys healthy, so I'm glad he's okay.
And the throw to first, diving safely back is Springer. Bregman with a count of 0-2.
Another look at it. Ball right off the dirt. That ball was coming pretty quick, and it did. It kind of almost hit off that side meat of the hand right there. Sometimes you're not necessarily going to feel that until after the game. I bet he's going to be a little bit sore on the plane. They have ice on the plane too, though, John. They can ice that sucker down.
Well, and between innings here,